Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. Today I'm going to start the process of rendering down my wax on a relatively large scale. I've done videos on doing it on a very small scale, and like a little single pot where I do 4 or 5 ounces at a time, or maybe in a crock pot where I might be able to do 5 pounds, maybe 10 pounds in the course of a day of wax. But with this, I've got, this is a heated tank for either heated honey or, depending on the valve operations you've got at the bottom, for melting down, rendering wax. And what I've got it set up to do is to render some wax. Basically, it's a inch thick, let me show you what it is a double wall boiler, which we are going to fill with water. So I'll be pouring water in here until the level reaches near the top and it's filled up, and then we're going to plug it in and control the temperature. So we'll be setting it for about 120 degrees Fahrenheit to, well, first of all, melt out the honey from the comb. But let's have a look. So the renderings basically are the wax cappings, which is really sticky with wax. Now, there's a variety of ways that you can deal with this. You can press the honey out, and you can melt it down. I will be melting it down because I've got quite a bit of it, and if I do it carefully, I'll be able to recoup a good deal of that honey and, of course, process the wax. So we'll put the last of these cappings in here into the wax melter, and then we'll start the process of rendering it down. So these wax cappings are probably about, by weight, 50% honey, 50% wax. And in here now, I've been accumulating cappings in here for the since about July. And so we are ready to start the process of melting those down, and we'll see that turn into lovely blocks of gold beeswax. So what we have to do first is fill the tank itself with water. So we'll be putting water in here, make sure the valve is shut, and we'll start the process of pouring some water in here. I'll probably make a bit of a mess. There we go. So that's it. It's now filled with water to about there, or right on the gauge there, right near the top. So now what we can do, plug it in. We're going to plug it in, set the temperature to about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The honey will, crystallized honey will melt at a temperature of about 110. But I found that 110, it takes a long time for this to warm up the whole tank and for the tank to heat all the way through. So this is going to do the job. Basically, what will happen is, and in fact I've got, this might be slightly overfull because it will tend to expand and dribble out, but I'll siphon some of that out if necessary. So when this water tank gets up to 120 degrees, it'll start heating up everything inside here. And it may take 2 or 3 days for that big chunk of wax and honey to gradually melt, and I will be able to tap it off here at the bottom. As we go on a bit, I will turn the temperature up, and that will make even more of the crystallized honey that might still be in the middle melted. I might stir it up a little bit, and once we've got all of the honey melted, the wax will still be solid and tend to be floating on the top. Then what we'll do is we'll crank the heat right up, and we will take it 150 to eventually we'll take it up to 190 degrees or so, which will actually be burning the honey. But by that stage we'll have recovered most of the honey down at the 110, 120, 130 degree stage. Once we're up at about 150, it will be making the honey sort of darker, and so it's not going to be the same. It won't be able to be used in as normal honey. But basically what we'll be able to do is recuperate most of the honey in here, and then once we're up at 190, everything melts, and then we can pour off the wax. But you'll see how it goes. This is going to take about roughly a week or so to get through all of this. I want this emptied out in time for the extracting of all the honey that I'll be doing. I'm in the middle of my second honey pull now, and all of these supers here, this is my fall honey pull. All of these supers have some honey in, and I've got to go through them. I would say that on average they're less than a third full. I've got a lot that are nearly empty, and a few that are really full, and a lot that are just in between. So these will be when I need some room for the cappings of these supers, although they're not that many that are fully capped, so I'm not going to have that much. And I've got 4 more yards to pull my honey in from, which I want to do as quickly as I can this week, but in the process we'll be processing the wax. So this is how I will render down wax on a relatively large scale. There are better dedicated wax melters which would have a element of the heating element going right up through the middle of the tank. That would make it a lot faster, because as it is, the heat has to penetrate from the sides all the way to maybe 10 inches into the middle of that big block of wax and honey. So that's going to take some time, but it's going to do the job, and I would imagine out of this we'll probably get maybe 30 pounds of honey of wax or so, and I wouldn't be surprised to get about 50 plus pounds of honey from this. So this is the first of a multi-stage multi-set video. I'll show you the wax, the various key stages as we start taking wax out of my wax melter. and then I can start offering the wax for sale, or better, I will actually probably make use of a heck of a lot of that wax, because I've got a lot of frames that I want to coat, a lot of foundation that didn't get drawn out that I want to coat again. So for instance, I've got some partially drawn combs here, so I want to repaint these with wax, even though there's a good coating of wax on them still. I just want to make sure that come next spring, when I put these in the hives, they're drawn out as quickly as possible. So watch this space. I'll be continuing this process over the next week. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.